Agenda today. The next item on the agenda, number 10, is the debriefing of the delegation to Beijing and Hong Kong of the Bureau of the Delegation for Relations with China. I warmly welcome China Delegation Chair, Jo Leinen, herzlich willkommen, who just returned from the visit from China. As you are aware, our President Schulz also recently visited China. That was on the 16th and the 17th March. Let me remind you that AFET is making a reflection on the status of this strategic partnership and preparing an updated report on EU-China relations. AFET rapporteur is Mr. Bastian Belder from ECR. The draft report will be debated in the committee before and after the summer and adopted by the Parliament in October. A public hearing on EU-China relations is scheduled in AFET on the 26th of May. The implementation of the EU-China 2020 strategic agenda for cooperation will again be one of the issues at the EU-China summit this summer. The agenda calls for enhanced coordination and consultation on strategic, political and security issues. China has announced its aim for good relations with all geographical areas and without forming any alliances. It has refrained from openly criticizing Russia on Ukraine and has not joined the sanctions. On the contrary, China and Russia closed a 300+ billion euro gas deal a year ago. President Putin and Xi meet frequently. Russia also frequently joins military exercises with China on land and sea. It would be interesting for us to know, Mr. Leinen, if you discussed this during your visit to China and what could be a role of China in the context of the crisis in Ukraine. President Xi met Prime Minister Abe briefly in November last year. The number of incidents between Chinese and Japanese aircrafts and vessels seem to have been reduced in the East China Sea. It would be also useful if we could hear a brief and the update on the Chinese and Japanese relations. The latest satellite pictures show that China is rapidly expanding land reclamation and military outposts on artificial islands in the disputed areas in the South China Sea. Such actions and tensions will probably lead to an equal response by Vietnam and the Philippines. Increased presence of the parties will increase the risk for hostile incidents. The Tibetans feel that their culture, language and religion face serious threats. The Uyghurs in Xinjiang, in a similar situation, face the risk of becoming radicalized. It would be important to see what were the main elements regarding the minority rights during your visit, Mr. Leinen. Your delegation also visited Hong Kong. Last year, the so-called Umbrella Revolution movement occupied major streets for several months and demanded genuinely democratic elections for the next chief executive in 2017. Little, if any, concessions were given regarding the 2017 elections. Did the Hong Kong government give any new information about the plans in terms of the democratization? And also it would be interesting to know if you met with the representatives of the Umbrella Revolution movement. Next month, we will mark the 40th anniversary of the EU-China diplomatic relations. It would be also important to know if there is any event scheduled in Beijing regarding that particular anniversary. Mr. Leinen, the floor is yours, please.